Hi, my name is Carl. I'm a toilet partition installer, and today I'm going to be going through the step-by-step process of installing overhead brace powder coat integrated privacy partitions. Starting my layout, marking where the front chalk line is going to be snapped to drill the floor and attach the Pilaster shoes. We're coming out to the front. We're going to drop back a 5/8 of an inch, which is half the thickness of the Pilaster, and do that at both ends. So we're at 19 3/8. And mark the centers on the back wall. Okay, so we're at 34 inches. The next one is at 32 inches. And the third one at 32 inches. The height on these off the floor is going to be at 18 and 64 inches. And marking the side one, the same height. The next thing I'm going to be doing is marking the centers of the brackets. And the last one is on the side here, using the center line marked on the floor. In our centers here as well. Okay, I'm marking the brackets for the drilling holes, using the two center lines and the elevation line. Last thing to lay out and mark is the floor for the Pilaster shoes. And for that, we snap a chalk line. Okay, now I'm gonna lay out the floor for the drilling for the Pilaster shoes. So I have a 5-inch Pilaster and a 1-inch gap at the wall here. So we're gonna mark it out at 6 inches. And the Pilaster drilling on these is 7/8 of an inch back. So on our chalk line, I measure back 7/8 of an inch, and that's where we're going to drill the floor for that particular Pilaster. Then we have a 24-inch door, and then an 8-inch Pilaster. Again, dropping back 7/8 of an inch from each edge of the Pilaster to drill the holes. And then we have a 24-inch door again. Another 8-inch Pilaster. Dropping 7/8 of an inch back for drilling. One last 24-inch door and a 5-inch Pilaster on the end. All right, so now I'm going to drill the floor for the Tapcon anchors, which hold the Pilaster shoes, using a 3/16 bit. And I'm going to be changing this drill bit because the screws are longer. I'm going to open the hole up now with a 1/4 inch. With a concrete wall or a tile wall, drilling with a 3/16 bit, you have less chance of chipping the tile or blowing out the concrete. So now I'm going to open it to a 1/4 inch. Okay, changing my drill bit to a 5/32 for drilling the wall here, which is wood. Okay, these are the screw sets for the brackets. Basically, everything you need to put the partitions together comes with these screw sets. Longer ones are for the wall brackets. The shorter ones are for attaching the panels and pilasters, and the smaller brackets to the material itself. Before we can attach those, the plastic anchors have to go into the masonry wall. Any masonry wall is going to require the anchors, with the exception of masonry that has wood blocking or metal backing in behind it. In that case, you don't need to use the anchors. The screws just get run right into the backing itself. I'm going to start attaching the brackets to the walls using the 2.5-inch screws provided. Okay, all the brackets are attached to the wall. The next thing I'm going to do is attach the Pilaster shoes to the floor. But before I do that, I have to peel the plastic off. Placing the Pilaster shoes down, there's a hole on the back side, which a screw goes into once the Pilaster is in place. That holds it into the shoe. Those always face the back so you don't see it from the front. The Pilaster shoes also come with a screw and leveling bolt set. The Tapcon screws in there and the washers are what are used to hold the shoe to the floor. And these are run in with a 5/16 hex head bit. And when attaching the shoes to the floor, the holes that you've drilled, you try to keep centered with the slots. While the brackets are attached to the walls, the Pilaster shoes are now attached to the floor. Now we start assembling the brackets on the material. Okay, I'm inserting leveling bolt into the first Pilaster. Now the Pilasters that get the panels, they have to have the front brackets mounted on there, but putting the U-bolts, or the leveling bolts in the bottom rather, it's gonna be sitting in the center of the Pilaster, which is gonna want it to teeter. So before we put those in, mark the Pilasters first for the brackets, attach the brackets, and then we put the bolts in afterwards. I am marking the Pilaster at 20 inches for the front bracket, and the brackets are 46 inches apart. These are the center lines of the elevation of the brackets. I'm going to mark the center line of the bracket where it falls on the Pilaster. In this case, it's in the center of each of these 8-inch Pilasters. And it's 1 inch in from the end of the end Pilaster. Those dimensions will vary depending on the centers of the partitions and the size of the stalls. Okay, marking the Pilasters for the U-brackets to be drilled and attached using both elevation and center lines. Okay, now I'm going to be drilling those marks using an 1/8-inch drill bit. Before I put the brackets on, I like to get rid of any pencil mark that may show outside the bracket. Okay, now we're ready to put the brackets on. Okay, we're ready to start setting the panels up. Before I do that, I need to determine the highest point of the floor because the leveling bolts are only so long and they need to be able to elevate the Pilasters so that they can all be level across the top. So using my laser, I'm going to take a measurement of the floor where the laser line is, 33¼ inches. 33¼ here. The floor is pretty level. We're at 33 and not quite a half, so the floor is running downhill this direction, and we're about the same there. So the high point of the floor is on the left side. That's the first panel that we're going to set. I've got my scissor jack in place, setting the panel on there. The jack serves as a means of holding the panel up so you don't need a second person. Also, to raise and lower it is necessary. Now that the brackets are on the Pilaster, I'm putting the first leveling bolt in. And being that this is the highest point of the floor, the leveling bolt won't be quite all the way in, but it's going to be close to almost to the point where the Pilaster is sitting flat down in the shoe itself. So I'm going to leave about 3/8 inch. Place the Pilaster into the Pilaster shoe. Bring it up to the panel. Bringing the panel tight to the front into the brackets. And the panel needs to be 14 inches down from the top of the Pilaster. And measuring from the top of the panel, we are slightly low. So I'm going to bring the panel up by raising the jack. Measuring, we're at 14 inches. That's the height of the panel. so I can attach the panel to the front of the pilaster. Again, I'm using an 1/8" drill bit. I'm going to drill the top holes first. Then I'm going to bring the bottom of the panel, make sure it's tight into the brackets. And I'm going to drill those holes. And I'm going to run the other 3 screws in, attaching the panel to the pilaster at the front. These pilasters have to be 99 9/10% perfectly plumb, up and down in the face, or the doors do not hit the pilaster properly, and they will end up not being able to be locked from the inside. So I'm going to use my jack to adjust this front to back, and when I'm plumb, which I am right now, I can drill the back and attach the back. And because it is a level with water bubbles, drop it once and it may not be accurate, so I'm going to use my laser level, centering on the bottom of the pilaster. I'm checking the line at the top, and my line is right in the center of the pilaster where it should be, so I know my level is good. Using 4 screws, we attach the panel to the back brackets. I'll move on to the next panel and pilaster setup. Before I do that, I'm going to put the leveling bolt in this pilaster. And remembering the floor was fairly level from the end to this point, I'm going to run this leveling bolt in approximately the same amount. Setting the panel on the jack like the previous. Place the pilaster in the shoe. Before we can attach this to the front at 14 inches, we need to make sure these pilasters are level with each other. And the bubble on the level is showing that this right-hand pilaster is slightly high. So we need to turn the leveling bolt in a little further, lowering the pilaster to the floor. And this can take several attempts to get it where it's level. Now our pilasters are level. So like the previous panel and pilaster, we get it tight to the front. I'm going to measure 14 inches down, and right now I'm a little bit high, so I'm going to lower this. We're at 14 inches. I can attach the panel to the front. Make sure that it's plumb. So I can now attach the panel and pilaster to the back wall brackets. Okay, 2 panels are set. Last pilaster we put in at the wall here has to be level with the previous. So all the pilasters are level with each other. The next step is going to be doing the headrail across the top to tie everything together. Before doing that, you want to make sure that the door openings are where they need to be. First was 3/16 oversized. So we're going to bring this end pilaster over, and we do that by knocking the pilaster shoe. And that gives us a little bit of adjustment. And we're still a little bit big. And now we're fairly close, approximately 1/2. So we go on to the next one. This one is slightly large, so we're going to bring this one closer. Okay, we have 24 exact. We'll do the last one, which we already know is a 1/4 inch small. And now we're down to about 1/8 of an inch small, so we'll knock this one in towards the wall. Okay, we have 24 exact. Now, before we do the headrail, we need a starting point to attach the headrail, and that's going to be at this wall. So what we need to do first is to plumb this pilaster, and once it's plumb, I'm going to mark the hole. And And then I'm going to attach that with a screw to hold it in place. Okay, we're going to double check and make sure that it's plumb, and it is. So I can drill the other 3 holes, attach it with the screws. Okay, that pilaster is attached. The next step is to tie all these together with the overhead aluminum bracing. Putting the first piece of headrail up to mark where the cut's going to go, and that's going to be the center of our splice. Okay, we're going to place the headrail up on top. The headrail gets a headrail bracket at the wall. We're going to mark. I'm going to be drilling that hole with a 5/32 bit again. Using one of the wall screws, we attach the bracket. And then we attach the bracket to the headrail. And then we're going to attach the headrail using 2 screws to the pilaster. All right, we're going to put this up here in our splice. Next thing we have to do is set the next pilaster opening for the door. And we're going to measure the bottom just to double check, make sure everything is good. We're at exactly 24 inches. We're going to set the top the same dimension and then secure the pilaster on the backside with the screws. And we're a little bit short, so this top needs to actually move over. Okay, once we have our 24-inch set, we're going to drill the pilaster through the back of the headrail and attach it. And I'm going to put a mark on the back of the headrail where I'm going to drill. And we're going to secure that with a screw. And I'm going to be drilling 3 more holes in the back, 2 for this piece of headrail, and then 2 for the splice. And 1 last hole. Okay, that pilaster is attached, it's tied off. Last thing I need to do is attach the bottom where the pilaster and the shoe meet. Taking care not to push too hard and catch the leveling bolt inside. Okay, that pilaster is secure. The next thing is going to be to put the door hinges on like the previous. So we're going to measure the 15 inches down to the top of the top door hinge. And again, all the necessary sex bolts and screws for the door are in this complete set. Now the top door hinge has a nylon cup in it. One part of the cup is wider than the other. The narrower side is the side that goes down. That lip on the cup on the top keeps the nylon cup from falling through. And these pilasters have a heavy cardboard core inside to give them rigidity. Sometimes it's a little bit hard to get the sex bolts past the cardboard, but they do go together. Keeping in mind when putting these hinges on, the hinges need to remain flat with the front and the back of the pilaster skins. If the hinges have any amount of twist in them, it does hamper the operation of the door slightly. Okay, next I'm going to measure for the bottom hinge and the dimension on a 58-inch door, which is our standard size. The dimension between the hinges is 52.5. So we're going to mark the pilaster edge at 52.5. Okay, the next step is to install the nylon cup in the bottom of the door. keeping in mind that there's a screw that holds this casting in. And on the bottom of the nylon cup, there's two extrusions. The shorter extrusion goes to the outside. If the longer side is put out there, it's going to hit that screw and you won't get the cup in all the way. So we're going to tap this in place. And that gets pounded in until it's flush with the casting. Normally, before we hang the doors, we install the coat hooks on them. In the case of an outswing door, the coat hooks always go in the center of the door. This is a 24-inch door, so we're going to put the coat hook at 12 inches, and we're going to go 4 inches down with it. Handicap door measurement is different. Those hooks are in the center of the door and 48 inches off the floor to the center of the hook for the ADA code. And we're going to drill those coat hook holes with an 1/8-inch drill bit, and then attach the coat hook with 2 of the supplied stainless steel screws, making sure that we're putting the coat hook on the right side of the door, which is the inside. The hinges are here, the hinges are here, so the door is facing the correct way for the coat hook. Okay, we put the door pin in. And before hanging the door, we're going to put some grease on the lower cam just to give the nylon longer life. The door swings easier. Also on the top, in the top hinge cup, a little bit. That also keeps the pin and the door from squeaking. And being that this is an outswing door, one thing that has to be done previous to hanging the door is to set the door cam. The door cams are sloped. The slope needs to be facing inside the stall, approximately 15 degrees. That gets tightened up. And the reason being that this has to be done before the door is hung is so that the door, when not being used, will swing closed and stay closed. If the door is put up previous to doing that, there's no way to adjust the door because of the integral sight strips. And placing the door over the cam, put in the door pin. Give it a little tap, and our molding, the sight strip molding hits the Pilaster molding all the way down, and that's the way it's supposed to be. The next step we're going to do is install the door latch. These door latches actually come in 2 parts. You have an inner piece with the slide. You have the outer piece with the indicator dial, which indicates green for not being in use and the red when it is in use. And that dial automatically turns with the use of the latch inside the door. It also comes with a pin, which is the connecting piece between the inside and outside part of the latch. That pin gets placed inside the nylon of the latch. The latch is turned if you're in the partition stall, so it's in the open position. The outer piece is turned so that the green is facing up, which indicates nobody is in the stall. The teeth normally will go down. Putting the teeth up, the door will still work, the latch will work properly, but the teeth will start collecting dust over time, and that will cause a hindrance of the gear meshing inside the latch. We're going to put the latch on the inside of the door, the outside piece, and the latch has to be set in the open position. So it's slid all the way as though nobody is in the stall. The indicator dial has to be set at green, indicating that the stall is available for use. Okay, so we're going to install the outside piece. The whole doors are all pre-drilled for this. And then the inside piece will go over the indicator pin. The longer sex bolts that are provided with the door set are used on these doors. And once you have that started in the outside piece, it can be tightened up by hand. After the first bolt is in and tightened up, the second one can be inserted. And I recommend these get tightened up by hand, not with a screw gun. If the screw gun is set with too high of a torque, it'll snap the corresponding part of the outside latch and will break it off. Make sure that the latch is free moving, which it is. The next step is to install the keeper on the inside. That will also get marked and drilled with an 1/8-inch bit. And for all practical purposes, it's going to go approximately right here inside the stall, as this one is here on the outside. So I'll mark this, and we're going to drill it with the 1/8" drill bit and attach it with the 2 corresponding screws, which are the same as coat hook screws. Next step is to install the pull handle. The pull handles will generally go below the latch and in the center, and approximately 1 inch between the two. We'll mark the holes using the inside part of the latch as a template. That gets drilled with a 1/4" drill bit. And I'm going to be marking this inside the stall, which you won't be able to see. But basically, this piece is mounted on the edge of the pilaster molding. So the sex bolt is inserted through the half a handle that's got the hole in it, and the corresponding half a handle will get attached at the front, making sure that both halves are tight to the door skins. The pull handle is now complete. The door is hung, everything is finished with it. Next step, make sure the door closes and latches properly, which we have. Also, the molding on here should be equidistant all the way down, which it is. So the installation is basically complete at this point.